A very cold morning wind from NW, we set out at sunrise, and proceeded on to a bluff below the mouth of Plum 12 Yards Creek on the south side and took an observation of the sun's altitude. This creek is small, it abounds with plums of a delicious flavor, the river is wide and crowded with sandbars, it is rising a little but little timber in this country, all that is on the river in the points. We came to on the left side the edge of a plain and camped for the night. We saw some signs of the two men Shannon and Coulter. Shannon appeared to be ahead of Coulter. The white banks appear to continue on both sides of the river. Grapes plenty and finely flavored. Set out early, proceeded on to the mouth of a small creek in the bend to the left side. Called White Line at 11/2 miles further past the mouth of Arrow Platte or White Pane Creek about 25 yards on same side called. I walked on the top of the hill forming a cliff covered with red cedar, an extensive view from this hill. At 3 miles from the creek the high land jut the river forming a bluff of bluish clay. Continued 1.5 miles, came to at the mouth of Kakor Rapid. This river comes rolling its sands, its course, into the Missouri from the southwest by west. This river is 152 yards across the water and not exceeding 4 feet deep. It does not rise high. When it does, it spreads over a large surface, and is not navigable. It has a great many small islands and sandbars. I went up this river 3 miles to the spot. The Panis once had a large village on the upper side and a beautiful extensive plain rising gradually from the river. I fell into a buffalo road, joined the boat late at night at the Pania Island. A very cold wind from the south-southeast. We set out early and proceeded on the mouth of a small creek in a bend to the left side called White Line. At 1.5 miles higher up past a large creek on the left side called or White Paint. Between those two creeks, the latter of which is about 30 yards wide, we passed under a bluff of red cedar at 4 miles. 1/2 past the mouth of the river Kakor Rapid right, on the left side, and came to a short distance above. This river is 152 yards wide at the mouth and 4 feet deep, throwing out sands like the Platte, only coarser, forming bars in its mouth. I went up this river 3 miles to a beautiful plain on the upper side where the Panias once had a village. This river widens above its mouth and is divided by sand and islands. The current very rapid, not navigable for even canoes without great difficulty. Owing to its sands, the color like that of the Platte is light. The heads of this river is not known. It coins into the Missouri River from the southwest by west, and I am told that its GNL course some distance up is parallel with the Missouri south as it has for some days past. We set up a jury mast and sailed. I saw a large gang of turkeys. Also grew seen past a large island of about 3 miles long in the middle of the river. Opposite the head of this island the Poncar River comes into the Missouri. On the Eldes, the Esdes is a cliff under which great numbers of springs run out of mineral water. Saw several wild goats on the cliff and deer with black tails. Sent Shields and Gibson to the Poncas towns, which is situated on the Ponca River on the lower side about 2 miles from its mouth in an open beautiful plain. At this time this nation is out hunting the buffalo. They raise no corn or beans. Gibson killed a buffalo in the town. The 2 men which has been absent several days is ahead. We came to on the upper PT of a large island at 3 o'clock to make a mast. Sent out some hunters on the island, which I call No Preserve Island. At this place we used the last of our preserves. They killed 3 bucks and 2 elk which will lurk. Set out early. The winds blew hard from the south. Goats, turkeys seen today. Past a large island, 1 obst. This island near the head the Poncacer River comes into the Missouri from the west. This river is about 30 yards wide. Dispatched 2 men to the Poncaries village situated in a handsome plain on the lower side of this creek about 2 miles from the Missouri. The Poncacers nation is small and at this time out in the prairies hunting the buffalo. One of the men sent to the village killed a buffalo in the town, the other, a large buck near it, some sign of the 2 men who was ahead. Above the island on the SS we passed under a bluff of blue earth, under which Sevial mineral springs broke out of the water of which had a taste like salts. We came to on the upper point of a large island, which I call No Preserves Island. Here we made a cedar mast. Our hunters brought in 3 bucks and 2 elks this evening which we had jerked. One of the hunter Shields informed that he saw several black-tailed deer. Near the Poncacer village saw some wild goats or antelopes on the hill. Above the Glauber Salt Springs they ran off. We could not discover them sufficiently distinctly to describe even their color. Their track is as large as a deer, wreather broader and more blunt at the point. This day one of our hunters brought us a serpent beautifully variegated with small black spots of a rhomboidal form on a light yellow-white ground. The black predominates most on the back, the whitest yellow on the sides, and it is nearly white on the belly with a few party-colored scuta on which the black shoes, but imperfectly, and the coloring matter seems to be underneath the scuta. It is not poisonous. It hisses remarkably loud. It has 221 scuta on the belly and 51 on the tail. The eyes are of a dark black color. The tail terminates in a sharp point like the substance of a cock's spur. Length 4 feet 6 light which lasted a few minutes. Set out after the storm was over and proceeded on a hard wind ahead past the island which is separate from the L side by a narrow channel. The morning is very cold. Camped on east side before night, no timbering and reach ahead. Our fields killed 2 deer, saw buffalo and goats this evening. The river rising a little, a storm this morning from the NW, which lasted a few minutes. We set out and proceeded on past the head of the ISD, which is separate from the LES by a narrow channel. A hard wind from the NW. A very cold day. We camped on the SNES at the upper point of some timber. Sometime before night, no timber being in reach. I saw several goats on the hills on the SS. Also buffalo in great numbers. Near the foot of this high knoll we discovered a village of an animal the French call the prairie dog, which burrow in the ground and with the rattlesnake, and killed one and caught one dog alive caught in a hole. 2 frogs near the hole killed a dark rattlesnake with a prairie dog in him. The village of those little dogs is under the ground a considerable distance. We dig under 6 feet through rich hard clay without getting to their lodges. Some of their holes we put in 5 barrels of water without driving them out. We caught one by the water, forcing him out. Their mouth resembled a rabbit, head longer, legs short, and toenails long, their tail like a ground squirrel, which they shake and make chattering noise, their eyes like a dog, their color is gray and skin contains soft fur scepter. 7th Friday, a very cold morning. Set out at daylight. We landed after procting 51/2 miles, near the foot of a round mountain which I saw yesterday resembling a dome. Captain Lewis and myself walked up to the top, which forms a cone and is about 70 feet higher than the highlands around it. The base is about 300 foot in deck. Ending this cupola, discovered a village of small animals that burrow in the ground. Those animals are called by the French petit chien. Killed one and caught one alive by pouring a great quantity of water in his hole. We attempted to dig to the beds of one of those animals. After digging 6 feet, found by running a pole down that we were not half way to his lodges. We found 2 frogs in the hole, and killed a dark rattlesnake near with a ground rat in him. Those rats are numerous. The village of those animals calves about 4 acres of ground on a gradual descent of a hill and contains great numbers of holes on the top of which those little animals set erect make a whistling noise, and when all armed slip into their hole we poured into one of the holes 5 barrels of water without filling it. Those animals are about the size of a small squirrel, shorter and thicker, the head much resembling a squirrel in every respect, except the ears, which is shorter. His tail like a ground squirrel, which they shake and whistle when alarmed. The toenails long, they have fine fur and the longer hair is gray. It is said that a kind of lizard, also a snake, reside with those animals. Camped